lead without force. By patience, you can discipline your desires. By self-control, you can develop strong character. By practicing gentleness, you can become as a little child. By purifying the subconscious, you may become perfect. Because wise rulers love the people, they lead without force. In measuring out rewards, wise rulers act like mother birds. While seeing into every corner, they are unobtrusive. While protecting the people, they do not control them. They are motherly and fatherly, but not domineering. They persuade with words, not weapons. This is their crowning virtue. That's chapter 10 of the Tao Te Ching. I'm also going to start including the titles of these. There's 81 chapters, so we're more than 10% of the way through. And the first thing that jumped out to me here is the idea of purifying the subconscious to become perfect. And that's fascinating to me because, to my knowledge, there are no perfect people. And maybe this is just more wordplay or the translation, but purification of the subconscious then is also an imperfect process. It's a lifelong journey. There are also a number of words in here which have drastically different meanings to different people. What does it mean to be motherly and fatherly? Certainly doesn't mean the same thing to all people. Protection doesn't mean the same thing. Rewards doesn't mean the same thing. Unobtrusiveness doesn't mean the same thing. What this points to is the question, what are your goals? And how are you going to get them? Purifying the subconscious, Taoists recommend meditation, reducing distractions. The answers come from within about how to live a good life. It's interesting that this book generally really does read like a leadership manual in many ways. It gets very specific. Don't be obtrusive. Don't control people. Don't be domineering. Persuade with words, not weapons. This is the crowning virtue. This is the highest calling of leadership. Properly done, leadership leads without using force, without violating consent. There's so much to unpack in this one chapter, this one simple page. I'm going to put aside all of the pieces about self-improvement here. That is the work that this book calls each of us to do, and also doesn't require that we do. It actually practices the very thing that it speaks about, in that Lao Tzu, being a leader, says, have you considered that this might lead to greater value in your life? I'm not going to do a damn thing to force you into it. I'm not going to create a law. I'm not going to create a regulation. I'm not going to incentivize it or disincentivize it. I'm not going to create a fee or a structure that makes you do something. I'm going to point it out, and I'm going to let you have the lived experience. Rather, it's not even about letting. It's simply about not interfering. It's the non-action principle is what makes leadership excellent. That's frustrating when we look at the way that leadership is currently being undertaken. Not just in terms of leaders doing the wrong things, leaders being obtrusive, being controlling, being domineering, using weapons rather than words. It's worth asking where we went wrong from the idea that every single person without exception has certain unalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, to where we are now. The crossover between Taoism and the United States structure of government is that anything beyond the idea itself, trying to put these things into law, is never going to work.